Hello guys, welcome back to the channel. So in this video today, we're going to be talking about the pros and cons of living in Qatar, to give you, someone who's planning to come here to Qatar, an idea of what to expect and generally like a general feel of how the country is. So one disclaimer, everything I'm going to discuss in this video is from my own personal experience. I've been in Qatar for a couple of years now, and it's by no means an objective conclusion of what you will expect or what another person will definitely expect to the country, because we all experience the countries in our own different way. So I'm going to be as unbiased as possible, but take everything which I say, of course, with a big grain of salt. So to get that out of the way, I'll do the pros first, then I'll do the cons first, then I'll just have like a unanimous discussion about everything which I've said here. So let's get straight into it. Now, the first pro which I'm going to list is the safety and security. This country is just like crime is just non-existent in this country. All the years I've been in this country, I can tell you that I've never for once heard in the news or witnessed anywhere somebody talking about, like the usual crimes, homicides, maybe robbery. Those type of things don't exist in this country at all. Yes, I'll be straightforward and say maybe they do, but the rates is so low that it's like they're basically non-existent. I think the government has done an excellent job to make everyone, regardless of the class, the societal status, like whoever you are, so long as you're in the country, you have that freedom or that right to security and safety. Like the police everywhere. I mean, you never feel like you are in a life-threatening situation, no matter whether you are in the middle of the night, you are alone in the park, or the country is usually just safe. Yes, we have surveillance everywhere, which helps to enforce that. But I think the culture as a whole, the people are not just, predestined to do some kind of crimes which you normally expect in some other countries. So that's a very, very big and wonderful pro, which I myself have noticed while living here in this country. As for the second pro, which I'm going to be talking about, is the infrastructure. Guys, this country is so connected. Like, you can literally go through anywhere you want to get to in a single day. Like, the road network is great. The metro obviously is excellent, linking most parts of the country together. Like, daily commuting is just a breeze in this country. You never face those issues of let me say overly congested traffic, or some places which are hard to get to. Everywhere is just within reach. And yes, I'll admit that that's also because of the fact that the country is not a big country. But keeping that aside, the country is so connected that it's such an ease for you to get to point A to point B. The roads are excellent, and the country is just full of countless attractions. Like, wherever you turn, there are parks, there are beautiful buildings, there are beaches, like all what you would normally expect as a tourist or as somebody who wants to stay here for attraction or everything. There are just countless places and limitless things for you to do. And the beautiful thing is, you don't have to, let me say, be a special kind of person before you can experience these things. No, most of the parks are free, most of the beaches are free. You can just go there whenever you like, you have fun, you spend time, you relax. The country is just so hospitable to those type of activities. Now on to the next one. We're going to be talking about the jobs. Yes, guys, I'll tell you that relatively to other countries or to other places which I've done a little bit of research on, the salaries here in Qatar is very, very encouraging. If you compare with the same type of jobs in another place, you notice that generally they pay higher here. And that high salary, I think it also affects the minimum wage. Like, the minimum wage in this country is way higher than for other places just around the Gulf area, like maybe Saudi Arabia, maybe UAE, maybe Dubai. This country really has that notion of, you know, paying people adequately according to the value which you as the employee brings to the table. So that's a very, very big pro which I've noticed in the country, because, you know, I did some personal research and I also asked people, like, word of mouth, okay, how much do you earn here? How much do you earn here? And what I noticed is that for most of the people that I asked, the salaries which they receive here in Qatar are way higher for the same jobs as when you maybe compare to somebody in those other countries or those other regions which I've mentioned. So that's a very, very big pro for you to have in mind, that if you're doing a job here, you'll likely be paid higher than if you're doing it in the other Gulf countries. Okay, for the next one we're going to be talking about is a relatively affordable cost of basic necessities. You know, the groceries, let me say transportation with the metro and everything. Those things are very, very affordable. Like, you don't need to literally break the bank for you to afford your basic needs here, your groceries, your food, your water. You know, all of those things are usually so affordable that in some cases they are like almost free to get. You know, yes, they do cost a lot. Going to the malls, going to the supermarkets, you spend a lot overall, but, you know, as compared to some other places, you know, I'm trying to give a realistic comparison. The food here, the water here is very, very affordable. Yes, there are some high-end restaurants, obviously, which can cost higher than usual. But in general, if you're trying to be frugal, you know, trying to save up a couple of bucks for yourself, you are not going to have a problem with affording your basic necessities. Yeah, because, and, you know, most of the time, the malls, the supermarkets, they're always having products on sales, you know, just to encourage people. So that's a very, very big pro, which if you're maybe coming to the country on a budget, you can at least get yourself sorted out without having to spend huge sums of money just for your basic necessities. Okay guys, the next one we're going to be talking about is the weather. And before you jump in the comment section and start grinding me about, oh, but Qatar is hot. Yes, I get it, but I'll talk specifically on the part or the time of the year when the weather is actually good. Well, the weather of Qatar is kind of bipolar. We have a very hot season and also a very cold season. So at least during that cold season, Qatar is a very lovely place to be. Yes, albeit the cold season doesn't last for long, maximum just about 4 to 5 months in a year. But during those 4 to 5 months, guys, it is such a lovely place to be. I mean, you can see me outdoor now. We are in February and the temperature averages maybe about 25 to 24 degrees Celsius every day. So it's lovely weather all along. You know, you can spend some time outdoors. You can really take time this cold parts of the year, cold time of the year, to explore the country. So it's a very, very big plus, because, you know, it's not like that kind of harsh winter where you have snow and everything. No, it's just the right weather conditions for you to spend time outdoors, do a lot of great outdoor activities, which are also very, very popular in this particular winter period. So I would say the weather is a big pro, even though, yes, it's also a con, but it's a big pro to actually make you want to come here to the country. So guys, for the final pro which I'm going to be talking about is the rich cultural heritage of this country. Yes, I'll admit it, this particular one may not be for everyone, because, you know, some of you don't literally care about how culturally great the country is. But for those of you who care, then this country, the Qatari and the people who live here are very hospitable. They are very welcoming, you know, and the country, even though it's a modern country, it's a developed country, but you can tell from the architecture, the infrastructure, that they are still very much connected to their roots, to their past, to their history. So everywhere you go, you know, there are so many attractions which are particularly connected to the history of the country. You know, it's like a whole tapestry of the country is just littered. There are places which are just littered everywhere, telling the story of the country, you know, iconic buildings, iconic parks, iconic monuments, all of that is here. and even with the culture, the way the people behave, the way they interact. So all of that is like a great place for you to come and experience new cultures, you know, obviously. And also on that note about culture, the country is also a mixing pot or a melting pot of so many other cultures. You know, we are here in this country, there are people from Saudi Arabia, Iran, Iraq, Syria, from Africa, like from all over the world, Asia, Filipinos, Japan, Koreans. The country is just a whole blend of every nationality you can really think of. So everywhere you go, there are many interesting people to meet, to talk to, you know, everyone with their own story. So the country is just so vibrant in that particular aspect. Now guys, before we go on, I will really encourage you to like, subscribe, you know, all of that stuff, and feel free to share this video to anyone who you feel might be in need of this information. Thank you so much. So let's get straight back into it. Now guys, just like a rose cannot be without thorns, there are also some very small issues which you as somebody who's planning to come to the country might face. For the first one, let's just get this out of the way. It's an Islamic country. Now, I don't mean that in a negative way, but talking about the reality which you as somebody from maybe a Western part of the world or somebody from a different country, a non-Islamic country, will face here, that there are certain restrictions and there are certain rules and regulations which when you come here, you are compelled to follow, because this is an Islamic country and the laws of the country are directly intertwined with Islamic law too. So there are restrictions on your dressing. You know, you cannot dress inappropriately, especially in some public places. Yes, you can literally get into trouble for doing that. You cannot, let me say, randomly go about showing a public display of affection. That's a big no-no here. You know, just some kind of things which they are not really big issues per se, but they are things which you might not be used to coming from a different part of the world. Yeah, you know, all of that can basically get you in some trouble here if you're not careful enough. And talking about public display of affection, even if you are not, let me say, doing any sort of public display of affection, if you're with your significant other and maybe you don't have a marriage certificate or everything, that can actually get you in trouble with the police too, because, you know, in this country, couples in any capacity must have their marriage certificate. Like, the country doesn't promote people to live in promiscuity and all of that stuff. So if you're having a girlfriend or a boyfriend or whatever, you must have a marriage certificate to back that up. Because in some cases, the police can just do a random check on you two or whatever and, you know, ask like, why are you two together if you are not married? Because normally in the country, according to the law, the people of opposite sexes are not supposed to spend time together unless they are married or unless they are related, like family members. So still on that point, on the conservative nature of the country, also there are some items which are prohibited here. Of course, there's no consumption of alcohol. I think for you to do that, you have to have a license, and that, you know, takes some time and some process to get, you know. Then during certain parts of the month, like certain parts of the year, sorry, like we have the Ramadan period, which is coming up in less than a month. You are not allowed to, you know, eat in public places. Yes, if you are not a Muslim, you can eat at home or whatever, but in public places, in restaurants, outdoors, if you are caught eating, that could actually lead to some jail time or some fines, because the law at that time states that everyone in the country who is a Muslim is supposed to be fasting. And if you are not a Muslim, then you are not supposed to interfere with their fasting program by having your snacks or your lunch or whatever outdoors. So that's another one which, you know, some people might not be comfortable with, but it's totally fine, because obviously you can have your way around that. You can eat at home. Nobody will question you for eating at home, but you just have to have that one in mind. Okay guys, for the next con which I'm going to talk about is stiff competition for jobs. Yes, I know I mentioned earlier that they are high paying jobs. Relatively, it's true, yes they are, but you have to understand that to get these jobs to, in some cases, might not be easy. Not that the jobs are not there, they are there, but the competition for this job is relatively high. You know, the demand for the jobs are high because many people are usually going after the same job in the same space. So you will face a lot of competition, and that usually leads to people, let me say, having the experience of coming to the country, then taking a bit of time before they can get a job or get employed somewhere. Yeah. Yes, there are some cases where some people even get hired out of the country and are brought here. Some others just get into the country and within a week or two they land a job. All of that is possible. But I'm just being or laying out the reality to you that in most of the cases, people could go a month, 2 months, even up to a year or a couple of years without having job, especially if, you know, their skill set is not flexible. You know, they are not prolific in many areas. If they are laser focused on a particular type of job, that job might be so saturated with other people that it will take you some time before you can have a breakaway in that particular job. So that's something you have to have in mind. I'll advise anyone who is coming here, just be open-minded, and also, you know, try to diversify your skill set so that if you're applying for jobs in a particular sector and you face too much competition or too much delay, then you can easily divert your skill set to this other sector and maybe have better chances of getting a job there. For the next one, guys, I'll talk about the high cost of accommodation. The cost of living in general in this country is not that bad, but the cost of accommodation alone, that's the one thing which I can say it's a real concern. So that's why I'm talking about it now, because, you know, especially if you are from, let me say, developing parts of the world, like maybe Africa, you will discover that the rents here are really high. Yeah, the rents here are really high. For you to get a comfortable studio or an apartment, it will cost you upwards of, you know, 2,000 to about 3,000 Qatar riyals to live comfortably in that kind of personal space. And, you know, that's why most people who come here, you know, they are forced to cut back on some of those comfort and necessities and, you know, get places which, not that they are slums or whatever, but at least for the time being, most people try to do that, you know, cut back on some of those comforts and get a place which at least you can lay your head on. But just so you know, if you are all bent on comfortable, big spaces and all of that, then this place might not be the place for you, because you have to spend a relatively high amount of money to keep up that lifestyle. So that's one of the big cons which I think many people here complain about, the cost of the accommodation. Okay guys, for the final one, which is the most obvious one, it's the weather. Yes, I mentioned about how great the weather was, but like I said earlier on, that's just for some time of the year, because for the rest of the year, or for a majority part of the year, maybe 3/4 of the year, the weather is really brutal. Yes, you know, we have temperatures upwards of 45 to about 50 degrees Celsius every single day. You know, it's literally impossible for you to be outdoors like I am in this park now during the summer period, because, you know, you could have heat stroke, or you could be so dehydrated that you just black out and everything. So the weather during that part of that time of the year is really, really unfavorable for anyone to do any sort of activity. Most people are at home or at the job sites. When they close the job sites, everybody goes into the house. You know, it's not favorable to be in the country at that time. Yeah, so this also one thing you should have in mind when planning to come to the country. You know, if you're trying to come to the country to live here permanently, then that will not really be an issue. You could come anytime when you want to. But if you are, you know, like a tourist coming to, you know, experience some of the other positive sides of the country, which I mentioned, like the cultural heritage, the attractions and everything, then the summer period is particularly not the time for you to visit the country. You know, you could hold back on your horses and come sometime during the winter, like in from November and December. That's where all the tourists are coming into the country. But the summer period is just not a favorable time for anyone to, you know, come into the country as a tourist. So guys, that will be it for this video. I try to make the video as short as possible. It's just a brief discussion. Maybe later on in the future we'll talk about this stuff more in depth. You know, there's some other things which they bar on the line, you know, not being a pro, not being a con. You know, one of them might be the fact that the country is full of many people from so many parts of the world. You know, even though it's a small country, but the population density is relatively high, especially in some places. So if you are not that, if you are the type of person who, you know, doesn't like to be in too many crowded places and all of that, that might also be quite of a con for you. But most people, myself included, I instead like, you know, meeting new people, seeing people around. I don't like to live in a place which is so isolated. So that's a pro for me. Then another thing to also consider with this point of the people in the country is that you meet people who don't think like you, who are not from your country or from your area. So you have to be as open-minded and as friendly or as in your lane as possible, because, you know, the wrong words, the wrong stare, the wrong expression can really get you into trouble with some other person. So you just have to, you know, keep to your lane, mind your own business, you know, just leave the country, but have in mind that it is not where you grew up, it's not your country and everything. So you have to be a little bit cautious how you interact, with the people who you meet along the way in this country. So guys, that'll be all for me. Thank you so much for watching. I appreciate your time. Please like, subscribe, share, you know, get this video out there, and let me know in the comment section what I missed out, you know, your own personal experience, what you experienced when you came to the country, or what you've heard from someone. You know, just let me know in the comment section. Thank you guys for watching so much, and I'll catch you in the next one.